Alright, good morning everybody. We are here with break 413. This one is a 26 League Heroes combo break featuring the League Heroes case, the League Heroes hobby box, and 4 League Heroes starter packs. Our team list: Broncos, Dylan Cameron; Raiders, Peter Lowe; Bulldogs, Glen Holding; Sharks, Dean Mich; Dolphins, go Carlin; Titans, Lachlan Logan; Manly, Paul Bathman; Storm and Knight, Johnny D; Cowboy, go Carlin; Eels, Sam Driscoll; Panthers, Glen Holding; Rabbitohs, Daniel Hundy; Dragons, Rodney White; Roosters, Stephen Murray; Warriors, Karen Adnum; and Tigers, Jeff Walls. Before we start busting, I am just going to double check there was no late trade in that. I did try and tag Dylan about 15 minutes ago. More so because I found it odd. No, unfortunately. Sorry guys, I tried on that one. Have changed screens. There's the chat. Where's my team list? Refresh YouTube because it likes to lag behind at first, just to be a pain. So this is the first hobby box and starters that we've done in a break. I'm excited to show you. Obviously, we've already opened quite a bit of both of them actually. So, all right, let's get started with the starter packs. We'll bust all 4 open and get the bonus card packets out, and we'll open all 4 of the bonus packets at once. There's that. So I really do like that the bonus cards are in a protective packet. I remember, I can't remember if I'd started working with Dad and that, or if it was before then. But I remember watching someone in the news agents going through all the starter packs, and I didn't understand at that point what they were actually doing. But yes, I soon realised. Alright, there is our 4 bonus packs out of the starter packs. We will just make sure the card is down nice and low. Being the single card, we've already found it's really easy to damage when opening the packet. So for the first time ever, you will see me using scissors. Alright, I don't even know if these are numbered. They're not numbered, okay, well that makes it easy. League heads, Dominic Young for the Knights. This one from the bottom, it's all the way up the top. And Milwaukee Fotowaika for the Titans. Sold out our hobby and starters cases break. bit excited about that one. League heads of our homes for the Dragons. Alright, and the last bonus pack out of the starter packs. Yeo for Panthers. Let's get these packets done and dusted. So with Lachlan, Logan, Johnny D, Glen Holding, and Rodney White all kicking off with the hits from the starter packs. And bang, Gahabat Shabarsky for the Broncos. Luminous Terrell May for the Tigers. League heads, Ray Stone for the Dolphins. Luminous Jack Williams for the Eels. Got a spot raise for Cowboys, guys, in the group. I think it's the second last spot in that break at the moment. So if we can get that one filled, we'll be breaking that one soon. League heads, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Luminous Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. League heads, Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Luminous Alex 12 for the Tigers. Bang, Will Penasini for the Eels. Luminous Tyron Wishart for Storm. New giveaway listed yesterday for the year, guys. Hang on, we'll get back to that. Alifiana Khan-Tierra in the Mercury for Titans, number 92. And Luminous Jason Taumalolo for the Cowboys. Now, we've done a few pick the score giveaways over the years, normally around finals times or in state of origin and things like that. But we're introducing one for the whole year, round by round. Pick the score. We'll put a new game up each week. League heads, Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Connor Tracy, Luminous for the Bulldogs. And we'll start off with a $50 gift card for the website. If nobody wins it, then it will jackpot by $25 each round. And if it's won, it will revert back to the original $50 gift card. So minimum as a winner, you will receive the $50 gift card. And potentially, depending on how long it goes for. Game Breakers, Keezy Apps for the Tigers. Luminous Roger Tuivasa Sheck for Warriors. To be eligible for that one, you must have made a purchase in 2026. And we also have the tipping comp, guys. Don't forget the tipping comp. We've run that one for quite a while now. Big Tino, Red Triumph. Luminous Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Game Breakers, Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Luminous Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. I didn't mention that Pick the Score giveaway is only in the Facebook group, guys. You have to be in the Facebook group to enter. Die Cut, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. And last packet out of the starter packs. Bang, Tommy Turbo for Manly. And Luminous Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Alright. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you'll know that I like to keep things like the priority boxes till last. So in this case, that will be our hobby box, guys. We will be leaving that one for last. We are going to get the boxes out of this case and get stuck into that. Get these last two out, and that is them. Let's go. No mucking around, straight into box one. Let's get this done. Have you seen the combo, our mega combo available on the website? Oh, that's pretty good. Bang, Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Luminous Kalen Ponga for the Knights. League heads Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Luminous Lycan King Togia for Dragons. Game Breakers John Bateman for the Cowboys. Luminous Isaac Tago for the Panthers. Red Triumph for the Roosters in the team. Luminous Alifiana Khan Piera for Titans. In the die cut, Loco Pacifici Tonga for Dragons. Adokar Luminous for the Eels. League heads Ruben Garrick for Manly. Luminous Robert Toya for Roosters. Game Breakers Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous Samaima Torfa for the Raiders. Bang, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Luminous Tamir Martin for the Warriors. Game Breakers Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Jason Saab, Luminous for Manly. League heads, Mawaki Fodawaka for Titans. Luminous Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Bang Tedesco for the Roosters. Luminous Gehabat Shabarski for the Broncos. Game Breakers Hudson Young for the Raiders. Luminous Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. League head Ben Hunt for the Broncos. Luminous Jeremiah Nanai for Cowboys. League head Bailey Haywood for Bulldogs. Luminous Keezy Apps for Tigers. Die cut Riley Smith for the Eels. Luminous Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. League heads Spencer Lenu for the Roosters. Luminous Jerome Hughes for Storm. In the Mercury, Billy Smith for Roosters. Number 17. Not a bad one. Luminous Casey McLean for the Panthers. League heads Samula Fainu for the Tigers. Luminous Chans Nico Klokstad for the Warriors. League heads Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Luminous William Kennedy for the Sharks. Die cut Philip Semi for the Titans. Luminous Sotili Tupanua for the Bulldogs. League heads Nico Hines for the Sharks. Luminous Sean Russell for the Eels. League heads Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Milwaukee Fodawaka for the Titans. Bang Isaac Tago for Panthers. Luminous Zali Hopkins for the Dragons. Game Breakers, Julia Robinson for the Broncos. Luminous Kurt Mann for the Bulldogs. Red Triumph, Hamoli Olakau'atu for Manly. Luminous Jermaine McEwen for Knights. League Heads, Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Luminous Reed Marnie for the Cowboys. Bang Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Luminous Ali Brigginshaw for the Broncos. And the die cut Ray Stone for Dolphins. Luminous Damien Cook for the Dragons. I just noticed you can see our break lineup down there. You can't see the view on this side, but we're loaded up and ready to go, guys. So jump on the website, check for available spots, and know that there is more coming. We've only got one coming soon at the moment, but I'll probably try and get a couple more up this afternoon. Game Breakers, Chance Nicole Klokstad. Luminous Adam Dewey for the Tigers. We do have a couple of breaks almost sold out, and don't forget that Raz for the Cowboys spot. Bang Cody Nikorima for Dolphins. Luminous Dominic Young for the Knights. League Heads, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Luminous Hamoli Olakau'atu for Manly. Game Breakers, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Luminous Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Die cut Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Luminous Lindsay Collins for Roosters. Gladiators, Keon Kolomatini for the Rabbits. Number 125. Luminous Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. 2 packets left for the box. Game Breakers, Tegan Demick for the Bulldogs. Luminous Brighton Nakora for the Sharks. Game Breakers, Luke Brooks for Manly. Luminous Ethan Sanders for the Raiders. I think we got a bit spoiled yesterday, hitting that golden treasure within, I think it was only the first pack, or only couple anyway, of the first box. So no such luck today. With plenty more to go though, who knows what we may get in this one. Bang, Marky Mark for the Roosters. Luminous Moses Sulai for the Dragons. League heads, Hamoli Olaka-Atu for Manly. Luminous Dylan Walker for the Eels. Game breakers, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Zahara Temera for the Raiders. The other thing I'm going to give you a heads up for now, guys, I only just thought about it. With the listings this year on the website, you may find some of the numbered cards don't have a scan of the individual numbers. If they're high, which most of the retail especially are, we're just going to list the numbers. So as normal, except you just won't have a picture of the number itself. Carlin, Ponga in the bang. Luminous Tegan Berry for Dragons. We are still going to list each individual number. We're not just going to do it as a normal product and then send you whatever number we please. We will allow you to pick it still. Yeah. That's right. That's it. League heads, Connolly Lumi Lou for the Dolphins. Luminous White for the Roosters. Die cut Asaya Yo for Panthers. Luminous Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Game breakers, Jesse Colhoun for the Sharks. Luminous Lindy Smith for Panthers. Game breakers, Ruben Cotter for the Cowboys. Luminous Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Gladiators, William Kennedy for the Sharks, number 470. Luminous Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Bang, Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. We've just brought Titans in break 417. Let's go, Lee. Ray Stone for the Dolphins. And that's the first one with the blaster boxes. League heads, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Luminous Lachlan Galvin for Bulldogs. Bang Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Game Breakers Cameron Munster for Storm. Luminous Hugo Savala for Roosters. Die cut Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Luminous for the Storm. I know, Leo. Some of the trades have been also people not on Facebook and things like that. But in general, Titans have been selling pretty quick this year. League heads Jacob Little for the Dragons. Look out, Titans collectors. Luminous Brendan Smith for the Rabbitohs. League heads Jerome Hughes for Storm. Luminous Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Game Breakers Payne Haas for Broncos. Luminous Tamale for the Raiders. League heads Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Luminous Sean Kepi for the Rabbitohs. League heads Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. Luminous Emma Veron for the Sharks. Finally on their way. Game Breakers Emily Bass for the Tigers. Luminous Samula Finu for Tigers. Dylan Martin Zelezniak in the die cut for Warriors. Luminous Connor Watson for the Roosters. Red Triumph for Titans. Luminous Philip Semi for Titans. Hopefully many other people, Lee, have got their updated information, and that will be making a lot of people very happy today. Red Triumph Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Luminous Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. League heads Liam Martin for Panthers. Luminous Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Bang Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Lunas, Tommy Turbo for Manly. League heads, Cameron McInnes for Sharks. Luminous, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Oh, instant win. And I mean, seeing that team makes me think, do you trade teams? Connor Tracy, Luminous for the Bulldogs. Or do you take what you get in the random and just run your luck? Because you never know what you might get. League heads, Cohen Hess for the Cowboys. Luminous, Brian Todd for Panthers. Game breakers, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Luminous, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Die cut, Hammer for the Dolphins. Luminous, Luke Lolili for Tigers. Game breakers, Kurt Capewell for the Warriors. Luminous, Murray Talagi for Cowboys. Bang, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Chanel Harris Tavita for Warriors. League heads, Carlin Ponga for the Knights. Luminous, Dane Gagai for the Knights. League heads, Brian Kelly for the Titans. Luminous, Blake Brayley for Sharks. 2 packets left for the box. Mercury, Bo Fermor for the Titans, number 262. Luminous, Tui Kamikamika for Storm. Game breakers, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Alright, that's another box done and dusted. Let's get these off the table. Alright, box number 3. Gladiators, Jason Tomalolo for the Cowboys. Number 389. Luminous Sean Kepi for the Rabbitohs. Game Breakers Malaki Odawaka for Titans. Luminous Tegan Berry for the Dragons. League Heads Adam Fanua Blake for the Sharks. Luminous Philip Sammy for the Titans. Mercury Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Number 349. Almost forgot. Luminous White for the Roosters. Bang Kale Hero for the Sharks. Luminous Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Game Breakers Zach Lomax for the Eels. Luminous Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. Bang Dylan Lucas for the Knights. Luminous Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Red Triumph Katoni Staggs for the Broncos. Luminous Terrell May for the Tigers. No. League Heads Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels. Luminous Jack Williams for the Eels. Game Breakers Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Luminous Dane Gagai for the Knights. League Heads Ethan Bullymore for Manly. Brian To'o parallel for Panthers. League Heads Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Luminous Connor Watson for the Roosters. Die cut John Bateman for the Cowboys. Luminous Moses Sulai for the Dragons. League Heads Lachlan Galvin for Bulldogs. Luminous Dylan Walker for the Eels. Red Triumph Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Luminous Zahara Tamara for the Raiders. I noticed the Facebook login still isn't working for NRL tipping. I find that a little bit funny because a few years ago I almost implemented that on the website as a form of login, because I know most people have Facebook and their information would be easy to transfer. Game breakers, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Luminous Luke Lawlilly for the Tigers. But it being another function based on something else and another thing to be able to go wrong, decided against that one, and now watching NRL.com go through it, which, let's be honest, the amount of money that'd be in that site. Adam Reynolds, bang for the Broncos. Murray Talagi, Luminous for Cowboys. If theirs isn't working, what hope have we got? And from my experience, I don't even blame them. It'd be another plug-in function, as I was saying, that they would have set up at one point that worked awesome. Done something else and broke the connection. Jai Gray, bang for the Rabbitohs. Yeah, well, that's, yeah. Luminous Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. On that note, for anyone that's been having issues with the wish list, it looks like we may actually have found the issue and been able to fix that one. Bang, Apasai Coruscant for the Tigers. We've had a few different issues, all sort of relating back to the same thing, and with enough persistence harassing the right people, we got somewhere. Luminous Jake Jabojevic for Manly. Not guaranteeing it's fixed. We're still waiting for things to pop up so we can test them, basically. Matt Burton, die cut for the Bulldogs. Best outcome is nothing pops up and we've done it. Luminous KO Weeks for the Raiders. People weren't able to see their wish list. It basically kept telling them to log in. People were receiving the wrong wish list in an email, so basically saying their item was in stock for an item in their wish list that they didn't have in there to start off with. Yeah, so hopefully that's all fixed. League heads AJ Brimson for the Titans. Luminous Beau Fermor for the Titans. Game breakers, Lachlan Ilias for the Dragons. Luminous Jason Tormalolo for Cowboys. And if you see the Cloudflare checking if you're a bot message when visiting the website, it's because at the moment, every time I take that off, we are getting hammered by Google and other AI, but mainly Google scraping the website for information. League heads, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Chanel Harris Tavita, Luminous for the Warriors. We're going to try and let them do their thing overnight for a little while and see if they die down. Bang, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Luminous Alex Twal for the Tigers. League heads, Dream Buller for the Tigers. Luminous Tyron Wishart for Storm. Hey, Golden Triumph. We will put that to the side. Luminous Kira Dib for the Cowboys. Die cut Luke Brooks for Manly. Luminous Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Game Breakers Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Luminous Braden Trindle for the Sharks. League Heads Payne Haas for the Broncos. Luminous Lindsay Smith for Panthers. Game Breakers Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Luminous Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. League Heads Bradman Best for the Knights. Luminous Xavier Willison for the Broncos. League Heads Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous Tui Kamika for Storm. Die cut Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels. Luminous Tommy Turbo for Manly. Game Breakers Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Luminous Stefano Yukamanu for Storm. Game Breakers Taylor Preston for the Bulldogs. Latrell Mitchell Luminous for the Rabbitohs. League Heads John Bateman for the Cowboys. Luminous Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Alright, that is the end of box number 3. Let's go, box number 4. Bang Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Die cut Charlie Staines for the Tigers. Luminous Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Bang Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. Luminous Jerome Luai for Tigers. League heads, Lehe for Manly. Luminous Hudson Young for the Raiders. League heads, Tom Starling for the Raiders. Luminous Val Holmes for the Dragons. Game breakers, Trent Leroux for Storm. Luminous Leke Halasima for Warriors. Die cut Saitili Tupanua for the Bulldogs. Luminous Hammer for the Dolphins. League heads, Greg Marshew for the Knights. Luminous Cohen Hess for the Cowboys. Mercury Tom Starling for the Raiders. Luminous Xavier Coates for Storm. Game breakers, Saitili Tupanua for the Bulldogs. Kirby Farmworth, Luminous for the Dolphins. League heads, Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Luminous Dylan Egan for the Dragons. Red Triumph, Chance Nicole Klokstad for the Warriors. Luminous Cody Nikarima for the Dolphins. Dally M Predictor. Luminous Big Tino for the Titans. Game breakers, Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels. Luminous James Fisher Harris for the Warriors. Bang Joash Papalihi for the Eels. Luminous Abby Church for the Eels. Game breakers, Luca Moretti for the Eels. Luminous Spencer Lenu for the Roosters. League heads, Marky Mark for the Roosters. Luminous Liam Martin for the Panthers. Game breakers, Dominic Young for the Knights. Luminous Apsai Coruscant for the Tigers. League heads, Val Holmes for the Dragons. Luminous Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Die cut Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. Luminous Dylan Brown for the Knights. Bang Xavier Coates for the Storm. Luminous Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. League head Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Luminous Ben Hunt for the Broncos. League heads Apasai Coruscant for the Tigers. Luminous Luca Moretti for the Eels. Game breakers Alex Twal for the Tigers. Luminous Asaya Iongi for the Eels. League heads William Kennedy for the Sharks. Kale Iro Luminous for the Sharks. Gladiators James Fisher Harris for the Warriors, number 494. Luminous Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. League heads Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins. Luminous Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Game breakers Isabel Kelly for the Roosters. Luminous Nico Hines for the Sharks. Bang Sanoa Taruva for Tigers. Luminous Leha Pawate for Manly. Die cut James Scheller for the Knights. Luminous Scott Drinkwater for Cowboys. League heads Joash Papali'i for the Eels. Luminous Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Red Triumph Reece Walsh with his backflip. Luminous Dean Mariner for the Broncos. Game breakers Hale Hero for the Sharks. Luminous Isabel Kelly for the Roosters. 3 packets left for this box. League heads, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Nelson Asafa Solomona for Storm. Game breakers, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Luminous Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Bang Tamale for the Raiders. Luminous Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. And that is box 4 done and dusted. A third of the way through the case. So let's keep going. Box number 5. Game breakers, Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Luminous Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Red Triumph, Asaya Iongi for the Eels. Luminous Teddy for the Roosters. Bang Jalen De Groot for Titans. Luminous Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. League heads, Big Tino for the Titans. Luminous Max Plath for the Dolphins. Game breakers, Tom Gilbert for Dolphins. Luminous Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. League heads for Storm. Luminous RCG for Titans. Bang Murray Talagi for Cowboys. Luminous Jackson Purdue for Cowboys. League heads, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Luminous Jonah Pezzett for Storm. Gladiators, Sebastian Chris for the Raiders, number 99. Luminous Tom Starling for the Raiders. Dragons league heads Clinton Gutherson for... sorry, we don't do per pack, Gus. We only do boxes and combos. This is a break. We've got a few breaks listed on the site. Yeah, no single packs for us, sorry. Blaze Talagi, Luminous for Panthers. Box retail, what everyone calls retail, which is these ones, is 140, and your hobbies are 250. Well, there you go. Sorry, no, we don't actually have any hobby singles. I keep forgetting that. They're only available in the combos. So yeah, league heads Mich Kenny for Panthers. Luminous Connolly Lowe for Dolphins. If you go and check on the website, we have it all listed up there. Blast boxes, lockers, combos, albums, and singles. Game breakers, Tamale for the Raiders. Luminous Tamika Upton for the Broncos. Bang Tyron Wishart for Storm. Luminous Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. Bang William Kennedy for the Sharks. Luminous Samuel Stonestreet for the Sharks. League head Wade Egan for the Warriors. Luminous Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Die cut Brian To'o for Panthers. Luminous Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Die cut Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Luminous Sam Walker for the Roosters. League heads Payne Huss for Broncos. Luminous Jessica Surgis for the Roosters. League heads Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Luminous John Bateman for the Cowboys. Game breakers Big Tino for the Titans. Luminous Tanila Paseka for Manly. Game breakers Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Luminous Jamin Salmon for the Bulldogs. Bang Fanua Pole for Tigers. Luminous Cameron Munster for Storm. League heads, Lachlan Galvin for Bulldogs. Luminous, Brian Kelly for the Titans. Red Triumph, Jerome Hughes for the Storm. Luminous, Will Penasini for the Eels. Game Breakers, Abby Church for the Eels. Luminous, Bailey Simpson for the Eels. Mercury, number 189. Vanua Pole for the Tigers. Luminous, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. League heads, Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Luminous, Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Die cut, Braden Trindle for the Sharks. Luminous, Sarah Toga Tuki for Tigers. Bang, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Katoni Staggs for the Broncos. Game Breakers, Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Luminous, Asaya Papalihi for Panthers. League heads, Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Luminous, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Die cut, Reese Welsh for Broncos. Luminous, Alex Seafarth for the Tigers. 4 packets left for the box. Game Breakers, Dane Gagai for the Knights. Luminous, Sanua Taruva for Tigers. League heads, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Luminous, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. Game Breakers, Ali for the Warriors. Luminous, Ali again for the Warriors. And we have Dally M. Luminous, Jordan Ricky for the Broncos. Alright, pick these ones back up. box number 6. Mercury, Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Dally M, Rookie of the Year. Luminous, Jordan Ricky for the Broncos. Game Breakers, Dylan Egan for the Dragons. Mitchell Moses, Luminous for the Eels. Game Breakers, Jerome Lowe for the Tigers. Luminous, Tanila Paseka for Manly. Bang, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Luminous, Josh Kerr for the Dragons. Bang, Xavier Coates for Storm. Matthew Tomoko, Luminous for the Raiders. League Heads, Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, John Bateman for the Cowboys. Game Breakers, Isaiah Katoa for Dolphins. Luminous, Jonah Pezzett for Storm. Bang, Bradman Best for the Knights. Luminous, Zach Labour for Cowboys. League Heads, Brian Toa for Panthers. Luminous, Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. Don't mind me. Bronson Sherry die cut in the Bulldogs. Renato Mortalo, Luminous in the Sharks. League Heads, Shabarsky for the Broncos. Luminous, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Die cut, Teague Wilton for the Sharks. Luminous, Luke Brooks for Manly. Red Triumph for the team in Rabbitohs. Luminous Xavier Savage for the Raiders. League heads James Tedesco for the Roosters. Luminous Georgia Hale for Titans. Game breakers Samaima Torfa for the Raiders. Luminous Sayakatoa for Dolphins. League heads Fanua Pole for the Tigers. Luminous Samuel Stonestreet for Sharks. League heads Brighton Nakora for Sharks. Luminous Will Penasini for Eels. League heads Kurt Mann for the Bulldogs. Luminous Asaya Papalihi for Panthers. League game breakers Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Luminous Ali Leitua for Warriors. Game breakers Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs. Die cut Dylan Walker for the Eels. Luminous Alex Seapath for the Tigers. League heads Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Luminous Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. League heads Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Luminous Loco Pacifici Tonga for the Dragons. Bang Marky Mark for the Roosters. Luminous Jessica Surgis for Roosters. League heads KO Weeks for the Raiders. Luminous Jesse Southwell for the Knights. League heads Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Luminous Harry Grant for Storm. Die cut Tommy Turbo for Manly. Luminous Jamin Salmon for the Bulldogs. Bang Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Sam Walker for the Roosters. Red Triumph Carlin Ponga for the Knights. Luminous Brian Kelly for the Titans. Gladiators Jermaine Hopgood for the Eels, number 470. Luminous Saratoga Tuki for the Tigers. Game Breakers Appy Nichols for the Warriors. Luminous Connolly Lumi Lou for the Dolphins. League Heads Murata Nakor for the Warriors. Luminous Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Game Breakers Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Luminous Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Bang Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Luminous Tony Staggs for the Broncos. Game Breakers Reese Walsh for the Broncos. Luminous Cameron Munster for Storm. Alright. That's halfway through the case now, guys. 6 boxes to go in the case, plus the hobby box. So plenty still to come, plenty more hits to bust. If I can only get this one open, we can keep going. Mercury, Brian Top for Panthers, number 436. Jermaine Hopgood, Luminous for the Eels. Game Breakers, Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Cassie Tahi Hiku for the Eels. League Heads, Cameron Munster for Storm. Luminous, Marky Mark for the Roosters. Bang Ezra Mam for the Broncos. Luminous Tom Gilbert for Dolphins. Oh, no. Software, it's back. I don't know what happened there. YouTube dropped out, but streaming software kept going. We're all good. Luminous Wade Egan for the Warriors. Die cut Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Luminous Cooley Kefu for the Dolphins. Die cut Connor Watson for the Roosters. Luminous Latu Fainu for the Tigers. League heads, Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Moses Leota for Panthers. Game breakers, Olivia Higgins for the Knights. Luminous Zach Lomax for the Eels. Gladiators, Lachlan Galvin for the Bulldogs, number 292. Luminous Mich Kenny for Panthers. League heads, Chance Nicole Klokstad for the Warriors. Luminous Adam Fanua Blake for the Sharks. Red Triumph, Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous Mackenzie Wheel for Cowboys. Red Triumph, Cooley Kefu for the Dolphins. Luminous Billy Walters for the Broncos. Game breakers, Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Luminous Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. League heads, Terrell May for the Tigers. Luminous Tyson Frizzell for the Knights. Bang Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Luminous Murata Nakor for the Warriors. League heads, Will Penasini for the Eels. Luminous Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. Game breakers, Herbie Farmworth for the Dolphins. Luminous Greg Marzu for the Knights. Game breakers, Blaze Talagi for Panthers. Luminous, Jalen de Groot for Titans. Bang, Jareem Buller for Tigers. Luminous, Ezra Mam for Broncos. Game breakers, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Luminous, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. League heads, Alfiana Khan Piera for Titans. Luminous, Jamie Humphries for the Rabbitohs. League heads, Jason Saab for Manly. Luminous, Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Game breakers, Kurt Mam for Bulldogs. Luminous, Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Game breakers, James Fisher-Harris. Luminous, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Die cut, Moses Sulai for the Dragons. Luminous, Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. League heads, Cody Nikarima for the Dolphins. Luminous for the Bulldogs. Bang, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Luminous, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. League heads, Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Luminous, Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Bang, Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Appy Nichols for the Warriors. Game breakers, Billy Smith for the Roosters. Luminous, Carl Lawton for the Cowboys. League heads, Lindsay Smith for Panthers. Luminous, Fanua Pole for Tigers. Sam Verrills in the die cut for Titans. Luminous, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Bang, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous, Cameron McInnes for Sharks. Die cut, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Trent Lowe for Storm. And last packet for the box. League heads, Renato Mulatalo for the Sharks. Jamal Fogarty, Luminous for Manly. I'm not going to tell you how hard it is to say Luminous and not Parallel when you're not thinking about it. I said Parallel for so long. You might see me, or you might notice me pause on Luminous a few times because in my head's telling me Parallel. Alright. Box number 8. If you are putting the Luminous sets together, guys, don't forget the Luminous albums. We've got none in stock at the moment, but I do believe we will be getting more, so add it to your wish list. Die cut, Jesse Arthurs for the Broncos. Luminous, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Game breakers, Brian Toff for Panthers. Luminous, Sam Verrills for Titans. League heads, Blake Brayley for Sharks. Luminous, Saya Iongi for the Eels. League heads, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous, Bradman Best for the Knights. Game breakers, Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Junior Paulo for the Eels. Bang, Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Luminous, Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. League heads, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Luminous, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Die cut, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Luminous, Lachlan Ilias for Dragons. Game breakers, Tamika Upton for the Broncos. Luminous, Billy Smith for the Roosters. Bang, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Luminous Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Game Breakers Lehe Hawate for Manly. Luminous Isaiah Yo for Panthers. League Heads Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Luminous Angus Crichton for the Roosters. And die cut Egan Butcher for the Roosters. Luminous Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Game Breakers Apasai Coruscant for Tigers. Excuse me. Luminous Taylor Preston for the Bulldogs. League Heads Patrick Carrigan for Broncos. Luminous Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Bang, Zach Lomax for the Eels. Luminous Ethan Blimore for Manly. League Heads Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Jesse Colquhoun for the Sharks. League Heads Luke Brooks for Manly. Luminous Payne Haas for Broncos. League Heads Nelson Asafa Solomona for Storm. Luminous Ben Hunt for the Broncos. Game Breakers Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Luminous Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Red Triumph for the team in the Eels. Luminous Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Red Triumph Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Luminous Kurt Capewell for the Warriors. Die cut Damien Cook for the Dragons. Luminous Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Game Breakers Hugo Savala for the Roosters. Luminous Ruben Cotter for the Cowboys. League Heads Herbie Farmworth for Dolphins. Luminous Dream Buller for Tigers. Bang Xavier Savage for Raiders. Luminous Xavier Coates for Storm. Gladiators. Apposai Coruscant for the Tigers. Number 398. Luminous Herbie Farmworth for the Dolphins. League Heads Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Dylan Egan for the Dragons. Game Breakers KO Weeks for the Raiders. Luminous Abby Church for Eels. A bang Herbie Farmworth for Dolphins. Spencer Lenu. Luminous for the Roosters. League Heads Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Luminous Dylan Brown for the Knights. Bang Chanel Harris Tavita for the Warriors. Luminous Max King for the Bulldogs. League Heads Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Luminous Lachlan Albert Jones for the Warriors. AJ Brimson die cut for the Titans. Luminous Reese Walsh for Broncos. Game Breakers Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Tolator Koala for Manly. And Mercury, Jesse Colquhoun for the Sharks, number 309. Luminous Dylan Edwards for the Panthers to finish off the box. Box number 9, here we come. Game Breakers, Xavier Willison for Broncos. Luminous Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Die cut Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. Luminous Jalen de Groot for Titans. Game Breakers Nessa Biddle for the Sharks. Luminous Adnum Blake for the Sharks. League Heads James Fisher Harris for the Warriors. Luminous Harry Grant for the Storm. Die cut Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Luminous Tom Gilbert for the Dolphins. League Heads Xavier Coates for Storm. Luminous Marky Mark for Roosters. League Heads RCG for the Titans. Luminous Ruben Garrick for Manly. League Heads Unfinua Blake for the Sharks. Luminous Luke Brooks for Manly. Die cut Brendan Smith for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Loco for the Dragons. Game Breakers Zach Labert for the Cowboys. Luminous Zach Labert for the Cowboys. League Heads Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Luminous Jacob Saifiti for the Knights. League Heads Phoenix Crossland for Knights. Luminous Wade Egan for the Warriors. Mercury Toltor Koala for number 283. Luminous Zykatoa for Dolphins. Game Breakers Fanua Pole for the Tigers. Luminous Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Bang Bailey Simonson for the Eels. Luminous Cassie Hiku for the Eels. Game Breakers Tui Kamikamika for the Storm. Luminous Latu Fainu for the Tigers. Bang, Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Lunas Josh Kerr for the Dragons. Game Breakers Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Luminous Renato Mulatalo for the Sharks. Bang Ali for the Warriors. Luminous Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Oh. League heads Patrick Carrigan for Broncos. Luminous Greg Marsu for Knights. Bang Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Luminous Cooley Kefu for the Dolphins.
Their SCC wanted should all arrive today if they haven't already gone.
Yeah, well, Lee said his are on the way. We just received our 2 hobby boxes that we ordered through SCC. At the time, we weren't sure when we were going to get hobby, so we got them so we could do some stuff with it. Probably add a few packets to each break or whatever the case was going to be. Dylan Edwards, league heads. Billy Walters, Luminous for the Broncos. So good news for all the SCC members who have orders. As Lee mentioned earlier, his information has been updated today. Hopefully everybody else's should be turning up as well. Red Triumph Dream Buller for the Tigers. Luminous Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Game Breakers Robert Toya for the Roosters. Luminous Jamie Humphries for the Rabbitohs. Game Breakers Isaac Tago for Panthers. Luminous Joseph Tarpanay for Raiders. League heads Ethan Bullymore for Manly. Luminous Tyson Frizzell for Knights. Bang Toltor Kuwala for Manly. Luminous Ezra Mam for Broncos. Red Triumph for the team in Panthers. Luminous Tommy Dearden for Cowboys. Die cut Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Luminous Mich Kenny for the Panthers. League heads Ruben Cotter for Cowboys. Luminous Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Bang Hugo Savala for the Roosters. Luminous Keanu Kinney for Titans. Game Breakers Tolator Koala for Manly. Luminous Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Die cut Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous Angelina for the Bulldogs. League heads Zach Lomax for the Eels. Luminous Zach Lomax for the Eels. 2 packets left for box number 9. Gladiators Moses Leota for Panthers 173. Bailey Haywood Luminous for the Bulldogs. And last packet for the box. League heads Tommy Gilbert for Dolphins. Georgia Hale Luminous for Titans. And that's the end of the box. Alright, get them ones out of the way. Box number 10. League heads Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Luminous Tyron Wishart for the Storm. Game Breakers Dream Buller for Tigers. Luminous Kira Dib for the Cowboys. Die cut Alex Twile for Tigers. Luminous Braden Trindle for the Sharks. League heads Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Sam Verrills for Titans. Bang Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Luminous Bradman Best for the Knights. Game breakers, Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Luminous Junior Paulo for the Eels. League heads, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Luminous Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. Lachlan Ilias in the Mercury for Dragons, number 211. Luminous Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Bang, Jason Saab for Manly. Luminous Sebastian Chris for the Raiders. Die cut Hudson Young for the Raiders. Luminous Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. Triumph Red in the team for Bulldogs. Luminous Tiana Penatani Grey for the Sharks. Game breakers, Kira Dibb for the Cowboys. Luminous Terrell May for the Tigers. Bang, Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Luminous Jack Williams for the Eels. League heads, Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. Luminous Stefano Utokumanu for Storm. Game breakers, Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous KO Weeks for the Raiders. League heads, Max King for the Bulldogs. Luminous Beau Fermor for the Titans. Game breakers, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Luminous Jason Tormalolo for Cowboys. Gladiators, Tommy Turbo for Manly, number 418. Luminous Alex Twile for the Tigers. Alright, we have a State of Origin predictor. League heads, Harry Grant for Storm. Luminous Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. I'm not gonna lie, I was starting to wonder. I was thinking we're due for one of them. Die cut Sam Walker for the Roosters. Luminous Angus Crichton for the Roosters. League heads, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luminous, Jaden Campbell for Titans. Bang, Dean Mariner for Brisbane. Taylor Preston, Luminous for Bulldogs. Game breakers, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Luminous, Ethan Bullymore for Manly. League heads, Moses Leota for Panthers. Luminous, Jesse Colquhoun for the Sharks. Red Triumph, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luminous, Kurt Capewell for the Warriors. League heads, Ezra Mam for Broncos. Luminous, Campbell Graham for the Rabbitohs. Game breakers, what are we? Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Luminous, Ruben Cotter for the Cowboys. Bang, Lycan King Toya for the Dragons. Luminous, Dream Baller for the Tigers. Die cut KO Weeks for Raiders. Luminous, Lachlan Elias for Dragons. League heads, Junior Paulo for the Eels. Luminous, Billy Smith for the Roosters. Game breakers, White for the Roosters. Luminous, Max King for the Bulldogs. Fifth last packet for box number 10. League heads, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Luminous, Larson Albert Jones for the Warriors. Bang, Alifiana Khan Piera for Titans. Luminous, Reese Walsh for Broncos. League heads, Jerome Luai for Tigers. Luminous, Toltor Koala for Manly. Die cut, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Luminous, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Last packet for the box. Game breakers, Harry Grant for Storm. Luminous, Payne Haas for the Broncos to finish it off. All right. Another box done and dusted. Let's get these tidied up. Alright, let's go. Box number 11. Our second last box out of the case. Our third last box for the break. Don't forget we have our hobby, which will follow after our last box from the case. Die cut Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Bang Sulavai for Storm. Jerome Luai Luminous for Tigers. League heads Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Luminous Hudson Young for the Raiders. Game breakers Tiana Penatani Gray for the Sharks. Luminous Leka Halasima for the Warriors. League heads Stefano Utkamanu for Storm. Luminous Isabel Kelly for the Roosters. League heads Sam Verrills for Titans. Luminous Hannah Fido for the Dolphins. Triumph Keon Colomatengi for the Rabbitohs. Luminous Cullen Hess for the Cowboys. Bang Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous Nico Hines for the Sharks. League heads Dominic Young for the Knights. Luminous Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Game breakers Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Luminous Nelson Asafa Solomona for Storm. Game breakers Bradman Best for the Knights. Luminous Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Die cut Bradman Best for the Knights. Luminous Dean Mariner for the Broncos. Excuse me. Bang Hugo Savala for the Roosters. Luminous Luca Moretti for the Eels. Game breakers, Mahalia Murphy for the Eels. Luminous Matt Shabarsky for the Broncos. Bang, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. Luminous Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. League heads, Jack Williams for the Eels. Luminous Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. Gladiators, number 38. Clinton Gutherson for the Dragons. Luminous Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. League heads, Connor Watson for the Roosters. Luminous Keezy Apps for the Tigers. Game breakers, Alafiana Khan Kiera for Titans. Luminous Cody Walker for the Rabbitohs. Bang Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Luminous Brighton Nakora for Sharks. League heads, Xavier Willison for the Broncos. Luminous Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Mercury, Jermaine McEwen for the Knights, number 232. Lycan King Togia for the Dragons. Game breakers, Tyson Frizzell for the Knights. Luminous Isaac Tago for Panthers. League heads, Alex Twile for Tigers. Luminous Episode Coruscant for Tigers. Game breakers for the Dragons. Luminous Liam Martin for Panthers. Die cut Jake Averillo for the Dolphins. Luminous Alafiana Khan Kiera for Titans. League heads, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Luminous James Fisher-Harris for the Warriors. Game breakers, Jerome Hughes for the Storm. Luminous, Yasmin Clydesdale for Knights. Die cut, Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Luminous, Val Holmes for the Dragons. League heads, Moses Sulai for the Dragons. Luminous, Scott Drinkwater for the Cowboys. League heads, the Hammer for Dolphins. Luminous, Big Tino for Titans. Fifth last packet in the box. Game breakers, Kulikefu for the Dolphins. Luminous, Kale Iro for the Sharks. Oh, Predictor, Dally M. Luminous, Cody Nikarima for Dolphins. 3 packs to go in the box. League heads, Isaiah Yo for Panthers. Luminous, Jason Saab for Manly. Bang! Phoenix Crossland for Knights. Luminous, Paps for Storm. Triumph Red for the Dragons. Luminous, Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Alright, so that was box number 11 out of the case, meaning we have one more box out of the case and the hobby box, which is last. So let's go. 2 boxes left to go. 1.5, depending on how you want to look at it. Alright, this is the last from the case. Let's see if we can improve on these hits here. League heads, Dylan Walker for the Eels. Luminous, Blaze Talagi for Panthers. League heads, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Luminous, Chance Nicole Klokstad for the Warriors. Game breakers, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Luminous, Ethan Sanders for the Raiders. Gladiators, Kalen Ponga for the Knights, number 51. Luminous, William Kennedy for the Sharks. League heads, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Luminous, Saitili Tupanua for the Bulldogs. Game breakers, Bo Fermor for the Titans. Luminous, Sean Russell for the Eels. League heads, Braden Trindle for the Sharks. Luminous, Robert Toya for the Roosters. Bang, Luke Brooks for Manly. Zali Hopkins, Luminous for Dragons. Game breakers, Joash Papali'i for Eels. Luminous, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Die cut, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Luminous, Addo Carr for the Eels. League heads, Ray Stone for the Dolphins. Luminous, Kurt Mann for Bulldogs. Die cut, Stefano Utokamanu for Storm. Luminous, Jermaine McEwen for Knights. Bang, Asaya Iongi for the Eels. Luminous, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Game breakers, Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Luminous, Max Plath for the Dolphins. League heads, Reece Walsh for Broncos. Ben Chavoyevich, Luminous for Manly. League heads, Murray Talagi for Cowboys. Luminous, Dominic Young for the Knights. Triumph Red for the Sharks. Luminous, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Game breakers, Liam Martin for Panthers. Damien Cook, Luminous for Dragons. Die cut, Corey Horsburgh for the Raiders. Luminous, Molly Olaka-Atu for Manly. League heads, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Luminous, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Mercury Junior Paulo for the Eels, number 401. Luminous Mitchell Barnett for the Warriors. Game Breakers, Adnum Blake for the Sharks. Luminous Mikey Fotuaika for the Titans. Bang! Lecker for the Warriors. Luminous Ali Brigginshaw for the Broncos. League Heads, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Luminous Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Game Breakers, Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Luminous Jerome Hughes for Storm. Die cut Dream Buller for the Tigers. Luminous Casey McLean for Panthers. Game Breakers James Tedesco for the Roosters. Luminous Tamika Upton for the Broncos. Die cut Murray Talagi for Cowboys. Luminous Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. League Heads, Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Luminous Regan Campbell Gillard for the Titans. League Heads, Robert Toya for the Roosters. Luminous Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. Bang Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Luminous Sanua Taruva for Tigers. Bang Sebastian Chris for Raiders. Luminous Tom Starling for Raiders. Triumph Blaze Talagi for Panthers. Luminous Samima Torfa for Raiders. Third last packet from the case. Game Breakers Tanila Paseka for Manly. Luminous Tamir Martin for the Warriors. League Heads Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. Luminous Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. And last packet in the box. Bang! Dean Mariner for the Broncos. And Luminous Reed Marnie for Cowboys. Alright, let's just push these ones out of the way. and get stuck into the last box. Hobby. Now, I'm not sure how many people have opened a hobby box as yet, but you'll see it has a packing insert. Not something that we're normally used to. Alright, before we start on this box, all cards are included, but I'm going to keep the silver specials in a pile and I will go through them and sort them out at the end. I really don't think there's any need to go through them on camera. Luminous Zahara Temera for the Raiders. Number 366 out of 725. Now these are the ones I've been raving about. I do think these are awesome. But the die cuts are actually the ones I do mean, which is this one. Number 143, Cameron McInnes for the Sharks. Somewhere along the line, I've lost my team list. Let's bring that back up, because we never know what we're going to get. And Luminous Brian To'o for Panthers, number 575. And next up, pretty sure these are playmakers. Number 96, Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Luminous Luke Lolili for the Tigers, number 670. And in the etched, number 53, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. It's got a really weird, it's a circle design on it. But yeah, depending on which way you look at it, it comes up a bit different. If you look directly at it, you almost get nothing. And at some point it looks like little divots in it. Luminous, number 386, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. And our Gladiators, gold, number 90. So these ones are only out of 140, guys. Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins. And Luminous, number 94, white for the Roosters. And our gold die cut number 240, Jermaine McEwen for the Knights. Get in there. Don't want to be nice. Play ball. There we go. It's funny how the inserts are actually opposite in the hobby packs. The luminous is always the second one in the other ones. And only one in this packet, number 87, Jack Bostock in the luminous. Luminous, number 661, Lindsay Smith for Panthers. Almost gave it away. Jake Trbojevic in the gold die cut for Manly, number 99. Luminous Fletcher Sharp for the Knights, number 396. Luminous Xavier Willison for the Broncos, number 219. Come on, we're going to be able to add to these. That's why I held off and I didn't do them at the end of the hobby case. I was hoping that we can add to it. Luminous, number 433 for the Cowboys, Murray Talagi. And in the Gladiators, gold, number 78, Jake Trbojevic. Oh, it's a goalpost. It looked like there was a big scratch underneath his armpit to the ball sort of thing, but it's not. If you actually look close, it's the goalpost. Number 78 in that one. As I said, these cards I will sort through and they will go into the right teams. Alright, Luminous. Number 718, Chanel Harris Tavita. We'll have to start chasing player numbers, guys, with these numbers being so high. In the Mercury Silver, 72 out of 95, Jeremiah Nanai for the Cowboys. Now, I do like the colour ones, but these by themselves, these look quite cool as well. So we've got the gold stamp in the name and the select logo and things like that. It just stands out against the silver. Luminous Blake Brayley for the Sharks, number 6/18. In the gold die cut, Stefano Utoikamanu, 172 for the Storm. Oh, these really aren't liking going into the sleeves. Oh, come on. There we go. We're up to 6th last packet in the box, which is in the break as well. Alright. Luminous Tui Kamika. Oh, nice. 704 for Storm. And next up, we have a Triumph signature, guys. I didn't take note of who it is or what team. Aha. Numbers on the front, that makes it easy. Number 14. Big Tino for the Titans. So that's a signature redemption. Number 14. I got a bit excited because that's the first one I've opened, I think. If I would have thought about it, I would have chucked it down here with these ones. The Luminous Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Number 396. And in the gold die cut, Max Plath for the Dolphins, 162. Oh, straight in. Oh. Yeah. Alright, 4 packets left. Let's see what's left to be pulled. Sean Kepi in the Luminous, number 363 for the Rabbitohs. In the etched, 171, Samula Fainu for the Tigers. Luminous Connor Watson for the Roosters, number 466. Luminous Moses Sulai for the Dragons, number 3. Oh, that's a nice low one out of 725. Nice. Here we got with Dragons, Rodney White. There we go, mate. Alright, gold die, Bo Fermor for the Titans, 209. Alright, lucky last packet for the break. What do we have? We have a Luminous, number 387, Dylan Walker for the Eels. And lucky last, well, not lucky last because we're going to go through them next, aren't we? Number 21, Campbell Graham in the etched for the Rabbitohs. Alright. So as I said, I will sort these out into teams and they will all go to the correct teams. But let's go through these, the case hits. Alright, Dally M Predictor, number 26. For the Knights, Bradman Best. Next up, State of Origin Predictor. Doesn't have the name on the back, but it's number 24. And I was just rereading this. Regardless of the player on the front of the card, if New South Wales wins the 2026 State of Origin Series, this card entitles you to redeem a set of cards commemorating the 2026 State of Origin winning team. Alright. Connor Watson in the Blues, number 26. Knights or Roosters? We will double check. Alright, Daly M Rookie Predictor Signature, number 124 for the Dragons. Dally M Predictor for the Bulldogs, number 170, Matt Burton. Some of them say signature on the front and some don't. But it says signature gold card for Matt Burton on the back. So, not exactly sure. Alright, next up, Dally M Predictor, number 175. This time it's for Panthers with Nathan Cleary. Two to go. Triumph Gold in the team, number 28 for the Cowboys. And last but not least, our instant win for today. Well, we could have had a couple. We only got the one, and this one is for the Tigers. Alright guys, that is it. That is all for this one. Thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon in one of our upcoming ones. There's a few up at the moment, couple